Here, Mr. DeBoer, Mr. Helms is here. Approve the agenda,
we can delete approve USD grant letter conditions and requests. We don't need to have that on there anymore. I'm going to change what I had.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with that removed. And a motion and support. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. August 9th, 2022 minutes. Is that how it went, guys?
Sure. It was something like that.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second. I have a motion and support to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I'll abstain. I'll abstain too, I guess. Review potential easement at Enterprise Park.
No one's been revised yesterday, that's what's in your packet.
Okay, so you guys all have copies of those in front of you?
This one right here. This long packet right here.
Yeah, I was having some career trouble this morning, so thankfully you guys have copies. Mike made some suggestions regarding adding some language that would explicitly state that the property owner, probably to be Mr. Doden, would not be required at any time to install a driveway for Mr. Hurlford's access. I thought that was a decent change, and I added that, and that's what your most recent draft reflects. Again, you have options 1 and 2 in front of you, and the highlighted portion is for the price of the easement. I know Seth told me what she thought it would be, and I figured I would just leave that blank and see you guys made a final decision on that. So that's what you have in front of you there.
I'm fine with citing that there's no obligation of a driveway as long as access is granted. I still prefer the first draft allowing the neighboring landowner to approve the driveway portion if he should so choose, but not obligating him to participate. I think that's reasonable. It's something we probably should have done while it was in our ownership long ago. This has nothing to do with the transfer of land to the new owner. It's just cleaning up what I think probably should have done.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. The very first draft of that easement that was sent out is a very general easement granting all rights except actual ownership of the ground. It's a traditional form easement and allows, the person who has the easement to make those improvements if they so choose for whatever purchase price they make. The second version of the easement, again, it gets kind of confusing because there's the 2 drafts that contain different grants of actual ground. So really we're talking about potentially 6 versions after everyone's kind of had their say. That second set of versions is just a very basic easement granting nothing but access with no statements about anybody's obligation or anything of that nature. So that's a very basic easement. The third one is the set of easements that Mike suggested. It reflects Mike's changes. So you have a variety of options before you. I think they're all certainly legally compliant options. I think it really all depends on how the board wants to shape their grant of an easement to hopefully smooth things over or prevent any conflict between future owners out there.
Mike, can you bring me up to date? I apologize for not knowing. There was never an easement granted before, or how? No, what's the whole story?
We gave up that ground,
What it is?
For Cat Farms when they were, back in 2015, when they were going to acquire that full 17 acres of right-of-way for the road was vacated back then. There was a replat was filed in 2015.
My memory's bad, but I don't even remember doing that. We did.
Cat Farms had their initial lot. They have the lot that Hurlford now owns where the range was. Plans were down the road that they would own all of the northern part of the outlots and everything. So there was no longer a need for access from the road. Under that situation, we didn't accurately think about alternatives that might occur. So they vacated the road that had been possibly between those 2 parcels could be viewed as not an issue, but he hasn't adjoined those two pieces of property, so I think we should make sure he has access, or there's future access, it should be held off or develop it, or I think it deserves its own access, and the easement makes sense. To me, the question is 50 feet or the whole length of the property.
Just a simple thing, like egress is really all you need to get in there, and then if you wanna make it the whole length of the property, then you gotta get in and discuss who's responsible for maintenance and everything else. I think it's just simple to do a ingress, egress, here's your spot to get in and out.
I would like to see him have the opportunity to address improvements or condition of the road as a neighboring landowner, if they. One thing he had mentioned was potential storage building, or something, well, you might want nice paved road that children's business may not ever have a need for a paved portion of their driveway. Shouldn't have to do it, but I think it's reasonable to allow the neighboring property the option to do it. And the first draft allows that, doesn't require it, doesn't expect things of the owner. I think it's the best approach rather than just ingress, egress.
His wishes.
Well, when he was here at the meeting the other day, he didn't want the whole frontage. He just wanted to be in and out of it, because he didn't wanna be responsible to maintain that frontage. So I'm just going by what the guy said when he was here.
My conversation with Chris, I'll make a motion to approve the shorter easement with the first draft, and I'm glad to include the language with nothing in this easement should be construed to create an obligation to the owner to the most recent addition of language.
And is that option one or option two that you're putting up for a vote there? Stated as in the parentheses there.
Under permit easement.
I believe he needs option one.
Yeah, I'm just, which one is not, but
They both got the same.
There's a slight difference there.
It's the same this. The legal is really different.
This is what he sent out yesterday. They don't have in the packet the previous one. I can just grab it, that's what he.
So just to be clear, you're offering to make a motion of, so I can come off the corner of the cul-de-sac into that property. So my question is, what happened to the right-of-way? Obviously, you guys had abandoned the right-of-way when you built the shooting range, correct? How did you get it back? How'd you get the right-of-way back?
technically, my understanding is Cap Arms never had ownership.
So the bank let it build on county property?
County property.
The bank let it build across county property?
The right of way, the roadway that now is part of the property that is being considered Godin's, has always been in county owned. It wasn't a right of way, it was just part of a lot. We didn't make issue of Cap Arms driving across it, we didn't make issue of you driving on it, it's just been access, even though there's really no legal right to it. This is cleaning up saying,
I just don't understand how
it's
the
part
bank
of the lot.
finances construction on property that they don't own. How did the bank finance property, or, construction of a shooting range on property that the Cap Arms didn't own?
They would own that lot, but not the center
Not the
strip
right.
between the two lots.
It just doesn't, it doesn't make sense to me. Regardless, I'm not after the right of way, all I want is access to my length of property and not have to participate in improvements. I may, he may, I don't wanna have to, you know, if he decides to concrete it, I don't wanna pay for half of a 350-foot road.
That's part of being the guy with the easement. You know, if you've got the easement, you're still responsible for the repairs. I have easements, I'm responsible to make the repairs. If I top hole up the easement across the guy's yard, I've got to go fill them in.
So if he decides to concrete one of your easements, you gotta pay for half?
If they decide to go in and improve the easement, I don't know that I'd be responsible to pay for it, but I'd be responsible to maintain it. Because I'm responsible to maintain it in the current condition it's in now. As a
He's
gravel
gonna
easement.
he's gonna be driving across it with trucks, I want access for a lawnmower.
So,
liable to keep the road up.
I don't understand why this has gotta be so difficult. I mean, the county's got the right of way there. I mean, I understand you guys don't wanna maintain it yourselves, the county doesn't wanna improve it, I get it.
but you still have access to that lot in your other lot.
I can, if I drive across a drainage ditch or I build a driveway. And then I cut down some trees and then I move part of my berm to get to the north end of the property.
Their utilities also, aren't there?
I mean, that seems to be unreasonable to me. And it devalues the lot if I wanna develop it in the future, which helps you guys with tax revenue.
Are you gonna develop it?
I don't know what my plans are for it.
So I see out there right now, a lot of trees, I don't know what you're gonna develop that into, but
What does it cost you guys to offer me an easement?
I'd say go with 50-foot easement.
If I may, because I have no issue with a 50-foot easement. That road, when we start construction of that, by the bottom side of Chris's property there, it's gonna be up at least 5 or 6 foot. So coming off that end with any driveways is gonna be probably a pain in the butt, because that driveway's gonna have to go quite a ways into your lot. So, I mean, I have no problem with 50-foot easement. I have no problem with writing in there that he's not responsible for paying for any of the concrete if I was to concrete. I mean, I don't see us concreting it just because we're not gonna need it. But I have no issues with 50-foot easement whatsoever. I just don't think the whole frontage, after we put that road in, is even gonna be something you want, because that road is gonna be built up enough that putting in a driveway down on that lower portion of the property is gonna be a pain in the butt.
All right, did you have a motion, Jason, or?
All right, my motion is for option one, the last sentence of the indented part says east, a distance of 50 feet, to be point of beginning, so the 50-foot option. For the original draft that was sent out, and the language that, the new language about there's no obligation on the owner.
You got all that? You got all that, Joe?
I think so.
And support that. I have a motion and support for basically option one.
Option one.
Okay.
So this option one that you have in front of you, that was sent out yesterday, or the other options that were sent out? I wanna make sure I got this clear.
The first draft that was sent out with,
not the first draft, that was,
This is the,
This is what was in the packet today, but this is what was sent to, Nolan sent out yesterday. I don't know if you have,
and this is,
the first draft that was sent out includes language, grantors agree and understand the grantee shall have the right to improve and maintain the described real estate to effect access to grantee's other real estate.
so you just want the wording out of that last paragraph added to this one.
That would be,
Well, the other one reads more like a purchase agreement, so this is more like an easement.
partial easement at Enterprise Park.
Nolan sent out revised yesterday, and that's what's in your packet.
Okay, so you guys all have copies of those in front of you?
This one right here, this long packet right here.
Yeah, I was having some prayer trouble this morning, so thankfully you guys have copies. Mike made some suggestions regarding adding some language that would explicitly state that the property owner, probably to be Mr. Doden, would not be required at any time to install a driveway for Mr. Hurlbert's access. I thought that was a decent change, and I added that, and that's what your most recent draft reflects. Again, you have options 1 and 2 in front of you, and the highlighted portion is for the price of the easement. I know Seth had told me what she thought it would be, and I figured I would just leave that blank until you guys made a final decision on that. So that's what you have in front of you there.
I'm fine with citing that there's no obligation of a driveway as long as access is granted. I still prefer the first draft, allowing the neighboring landowner to improve the driveway portion if he should so choose, but not obligating him to participate. I think that's reasonable. It's something we probably should have done while it was in our ownership long ago. This has nothing to do with the transfer of land to a new owner. It's just cleaning up what I think probably should have been done.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. The very first draft of that easement that was sent out is a very general easement granting all rights except actual ownership of the ground. It's a traditional form easement and allows, the person who has the easement to make those improvements if they so choose for whatever purchase price they make. The second version of the easement, again, it gets kind of confusing because there's the 2 drafts that contain different grants of actual ground. So really we're talking about potentially 6 versions after everyone kind of had their say. That second set of versions is just a very basic easement granting nothing but access with no statements about anybody's obligation or anything of that nature. So that's a very basic easement. The third one is the set of easements that Mike suggested that reflects Mike's changes. So you have a variety of options before you. I think they're all certainly legally compliant options. I think it really all depends on how the board wants to shape their grant of an easement to hopefully smooth things over or prevent any conflict between future owners out there.
Mike, can you bring me up to date? I apologize for not knowing. There was never an easement granted before, or how? No, what's the whole story?
Evidently, we gave up that ground, that, what it is.
For Cat Farms, when they were, back in 2015, when they were going to acquire that full 17 acres of right-of-way for the road was vacated back then. There was a replat was filed in 2015.
My memory's bad, but I don't ever remember doing that. We did.
The Cat Farms had their initial lot, and they had the lot that Hurlbert now owns where the range was. Plans were down the road that they would own all of the northern part of the outlots and everything. So there was no longer a need for access from the road. Under that situation, we did accurately think about alternatives in that area. So they vacated the road that had been possibly between those 2 parcels. While Cat Farms owned both sides, it really wasn't an issue. Sure. Okay, since Hurlbert owns the neighboring land, it could be viewed as not an issue, but he hasn't adjoined those 2 pieces of property, so I think we should make sure he has access for there's future access. It should be sell it off or develop it, or I think it deserves its own access, and the easement makes sense. To me, the question is 50 feet or the whole length of the property.
Just a simple thing, like egress is really all you need to get in there, and then if you wanna make it the whole length of the property, then you gotta get in and discuss who's responsible for maintenance and everything else. I think it'd just be simple to do it. Ingress, egress, here's your spot to get in and out.
I would like to see him have the opportunity to address improvements or condition of the road as a neighbor. one thing he had mentioned was potential storage building, or something, well, you might want nice paved road that Jones business may not ever have a need for a paved portion of their driveway. Shouldn't have to do it, but I think it's reasonable to allow the neighboring property the option to do it. And the first draft allows that, doesn't require it, doesn't expect things of the owner. I think it's the best approach rather than just ingress and egress.
Guys' wishes.
Well, when he was here at the meeting the other day, he didn't want the whole frontage. He just wanted to be in and out of it. He didn't want to be responsible to maintain that frontage. So I'm just going by what the guy said when he was here.
Mike?
My conversation with Chris, I'll make a motion to approve the shorter easement with the first draft, and I'm glad to include the language with nothing in this easement should be construed to create an obligation to the owner to the most recent addition of language.
And is that option one or option two that you're putting up for a vote there? Stated as in the parentheses there.
Under permit easement.
Deleting option one.
Yeah, I just, which one is not, but,
They both got the same.
There's a slight difference there.
It's the same distance. The legal is really different.
This is what he sent out yesterday. They don't have in the packet the previous one, which I can just grab, that's the need.
So just to be clear, you're offering to make a motion of, so I can come off the corner of the cul-de-sac into that property. So my question is, what happened to the right-of-way? Obviously, you guys had abandoned the right-of-way when you built the shooting range, correct? How did you get it back? How did you get the right-of-way back?
technically, my understanding is Cap Arms never had ownership.
So the bank let it build on county property?
County property.
The bank let it build across county property?
The right of way, the roadway that now is part of the property that is being considered Godin's, has always been in county owned. It wasn't a right of way, it was just part of a lot. We didn't make issue of Cap Arms driving across it, we didn't make issue of you driving on it, it's just been access, even though there's really no legal right to it. This is cleaning up saying
I
that
just don't understand how
it's
the
part
bank
of the lot.
finances construction on property that they don't own. How did the bank finance property, or, construction of a shooting range on property that the Cap Arms didn't own?
They would own that lot, but not the center
Not the
strip between the two lots.
It doesn't make sense to me. Regardless, I'm not after the right of way, all I want is access to my length of property and not have to participate in improvements. He may, but I don't wanna have to, if he decides to concrete it, I don't wanna pay for half of a 350-foot road.
That's part of being the guy with the easement. If you've got the easement, you're still responsible for the repairs. I have easements, I'm responsible to make the repairs. If I top hole up the easement across the guy's yard, I've got to go fill them in.
So if he decides to concrete one of your easements, you gotta pay for half?
If they decide to go in and improve the easement, I don't know that I'd be responsible to pay for it, but I'd be responsible to maintain it. Because I'm responsible to maintain it in the current condition it's in now. As a gravel easement.
He's gonna be driving across it with trucks, I want access for a lawnmower.
So,
liable to keep the road up.
I don't understand why this has gotta be so difficult. I mean, The county's got the right of way there. I mean, I understand you guys don't wanna maintain it yourselves, the county doesn't wanna improve it, I get it.
But you still have access to that lot in your other lot.
I can, if I drive across the drainage ditch or I build a driveway. And then I cut down some trees and then I move part of my berm to get to the north end of the property.
Your utilities also, aren't there?
I mean, it just, that seems to be unreasonable to me. And it devalues the lot if I wanna develop it in the future, which helps you guys with tax revenue.
Are you gonna develop it?
I don't know what my plans are for it.
So I see out there right now, a lot of trees, I don't know what you're gonna develop that into, but
What does it cost you guys to offer me an easement?
Say go with 50-foot easement.
If I may, I have no issue with a 50-foot easement. That road, when we start construction of that, by the bottom side of Chris's property there, it's gonna be up at least 5 or 6 foot. So coming off that end with any driveways is gonna be probably a pain in the butt, because if that driveway's gonna have to go quite a ways into your lot. So, I mean, I have no problem with 50-foot easement, I have no problem with writing in there that he's not responsible for paying for any of the concrete if I was to site the concrete. And I don't see us concreting it just because we're not gonna need it, but I have no issues with 50-foot easement whatsoever. I just don't think the whole frontage, after we put that road in, is even gonna be something you want, because that road is gonna be built up enough that putting in a driveway down on that lower portion of the property is gonna be a pain in the butt.
All right, did you have a motion, Jason, or?
All right, my motion is for option one, the last sentence of the indented part says east, a distance of 50 feet, to be point of beginning, so that 50-foot option, with the original draft that was sent out, and the language that, the new language about there's no obligation on the owner.
You got all of that?
I think so.
And support that.
I have a motion and support for basically option one. Okay,
So this option one that you have in front of you, that was sent out yesterday, or the other options that were sent out? I wanna make sure I got this clear.
The first draft that was sent out with,
not the first draft, that was,
This would be,
This is what was in the packet today, but this is what was sent to, Nolan sent out yesterday. I don't know if you have,
and this has,
the first draft that was sent out includes language, grantors agree and understand the grantee shall have the right to improve and maintain and to describe real estate to affect access to grantee's other real estate.
so you just want the wording out of that last paragraph added to this one here.
That way too, the same thing.
Well, the other one reads more like a purchase, so this is more like an easement. option one with paragraph, the last paragraph out of the first option one, easement. Everybody got that?
Second motion, Jason?
I'm fine with the new option with the highlighted paragraph included.
Yep.
So, just for crystal clarity here, option one of the version I sent out yesterday to the entire board, with no changes to option one.
No,
Adding the language for the writer.
adding
The language for,
the language from the original one.
That gives them the right to approve, but not the application.
Do you wanna see that? Do you wanna see that?
I should be okay as long as Rochelle's got it. Plus the language on the right to improve.
This is option two, bottom paragraph from the original. It's there and on the back of the page.
Okay.
You okay with that?
This is option two.
So we're talking option one?
Option one with paragraph, the last paragraph out of the first option one, easement. Everybody got that?
Second motion, Jason?
I'm fine with the new option with the highlighted paragraph included.
Yep.
So, just for crystal clarity here, option one of the version I sent out yesterday to the entire board, with no changes to option one.
No,
Adding the language for the writer.
adding
The language for,
the language from the original one.
That gives them the right to approve, but not the
Do
application.
you wanna see that? Do you wanna see that?
I should be okay as long as Rochelle's got it. Plus the language on the right to improve.
This is option two, bottom paragraph from the original. It's there and on the back of the page.
Okay.
You okay with that?
This is option two.
We have a motion on the table, Mike, you seconded, Zach, you're second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. You got that, Michelle?
And when we get into messing around with that road, it does look like the folks that bought Cat Farms are kind of creeping off of that property.
Yeah.
So we'll have to have that surveyed off to show where
Yeah, I
that,
don't think that'll have a problem.
seems like everybody's using a little bit more than they probably should.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you. We got a 9 o'clock, first consideration of resolution 8/22/23 declaring emergency medical service for the essential service.
There's a bunch of them out there.
I think so. Option one. Okay, so option one of the third draft plus the language on right to improve without obligation.
All right, Sandy, you got this, or who?
Hi, yes, I do. We're coming together today, this will be the first reading, for the resolution to make emergency medical services in Osceola County as an essential service. As you guys know, we'll read the essential service, resolution, you read it today, and on the 26th, and on the 30th, you'll vote whether you want the resolution to pass. By reading this, I think everybody has that in front of you, so I guess I don't, and everybody knows how to do it. I did bring in some people to support this. Right now, I'd like to just, maybe Ben, would you like to say a couple of words? And I think there's Mark here that, and we've been getting some really positive feedback on this. I received a really nice email that I think was sent on to you, Ed, possibly about the benefits of having, and this was somebody that was in EMS back in the 70s and 80s and realized that times have changed and it's time for the people of Osceola County to vote on whether or not they want this as an essential service. I think that's a positive thing. So, get your sleeve. Okay. That's okay. Been in the hot seat enough.
This is a hot seat. Well, thank you for having me. I just want to express my support and the support from the staff of Osceola Regional Health Center as well as the board for the EMS service becoming an essential service in Osceola County. EMS plays a vital role in Osceola County's emergency and trauma care system, providing response and medical transport for hundreds of sick and injured residents of Osceola County each year. So when a patient picks up the phone call, or picks up the phone to call 911, the clock starts ticking. So as the ambulance arrives, the EMS team goes to work, and they begin their healthcare begins, and that doesn't stop until the patient is stabilized. But for instance, for strokes, for heart attacks, time is of the essence. Each minute that a person isn't able to get the care that they receive, either heart or brain tissue can die, and therefore leading to severe injuries or even death. According to the National Rural Health Institute, the leading cause of death in rural areas is car accidents, transportation accidents. And so if we don't get patients, residents in Osceola County, to the hospital, to a healthcare facility, to a higher level of care in a short amount of time, there's a higher likeliness of fatalities in Osceola County for Osceola County residents. And so that's my concern. If we lose our EMS, that certainly could happen, and we don't want that for our neighbors and our family. The other thing I would just like to add is, as we have been working with Osceola Regional Health Center, has been working with the EMS Council over the last couple of months to put together a plan to make sure that we have EMS services long term. And so that plan is, there's a 4-phase approach which we put together, and that was reviewed by the EMS Advisory Council and supported. And so we feel very good about the plan. I believe you'll have some visitors on Friday, the medical director for EMS, as well as some others in support of this plan. But I wanted you to be aware of that, and if you do have more questions or questions specific about the plan, please feel free to reach out to me or Wendy Marco. She has been integral. She is our Chief Nursing Officer in putting together this plan. We do have support from the nursing staff, and that's because of the rules and regulations. It's much quicker for us to get our nursing staff to be on the ambulance service instead of having others take the EMT course, which takes 16 weeks. We do have some support there. So I don't know if you can ask questions, but
how many nurses are on board?
So right now we have 4. We do think we can get up to 8 in the next 4 months. But there has to be funding available to support this. we will continue, we will continue to pay our nurses while they're on a rate similar to the packaging of that. So we're not trying to increase the cost significantly, we're splitting those costs. So,
Yeah, that's what, here, at least 4 of them on board now, so.
Anybody else have any questions?
This starts the process, this is not the step to set the vote, or what it is about.
Next week, Tuesday, it'll be a resolution with the wording on the ballot.
Not having seen the 4-page approach or seen the financials, I'm still hesitant that this is the year to put it to a vote. I absolutely support taking the step to making this Central County service timing wise, the auditor's office and getting the information out. I still have reservations on this being the year to vote on it, but I support taking this step to start that process.
Ben, are you putting together a business plan, or?
I did put together.
Okay.
If you need a copy of that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where mine's at.
Yeah, so I agree.
I'd like to comment.
Yeah. Good, and I would note, and I think Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we don't pass it this year, we'll have to wait another 2 years.
Yes.
And then it's a year after that before it goes into effect. So we're talking
3 years.
3 years, so that'll be 5 years if we don't do it
If
this
it
year.
votes and fails, 3 years before we get our money.
But this is the starting phase, which we had talked about, even if it doesn't get to the November election, at least we are recognizing it, and we have potential then to go and put it on, in 2 years, to put it on the ballot. And that's pretty much what we're reading into the way the law states. And like Nolan said, this is a new law, it hasn't been out that long, and so, we'll be finding out if there's any, hiccups in it or anything like that. But this at least, if we can get this passed, this will be done. And then, obviously, we'll have to bring it again to the board if we do want to try and get it in November election.
And I've said it before, in the short term, if we don't put it on this year's ballot, we don't get this new funding source, I think we have resources as a county for those 2 to 3 years.
Right.
As
And Ben has
so I don't want to rush it just to get that funding source available.
Right. And Ben knows this, and I think, and the hospital is still willing to work with EMS and still try and get some of those in the far end, but like, the funding is gonna be, my budget is set for right now, I don't have any more money.
And to get on the ballot, it has to have a 60%
Right, but even, yeah, that still has to pass by 60%, so even if it gets on there, yeah.
So lastly, I would just ask the board to let the voters decide. If the voters say they don't want it, then that's the way it will be, but, I think there'll be support for this, voter perspective.
I've had quite a few people that I've talked to are in support of it.
Then you're still able to use that money to contract for services out of that levy as well.
We would, if we set up a 28D agreement, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, 'cause there is
Right.
concern
For
from my end
other-
of the county
yeah.
about the ability
Right.
to get someone over there in a timely manner, because I do have ambulance services closer than that. So, if everyone's gonna be housed in one end of the county, that really doesn't help the people on the eastern side.
I don't think this will change anything as far as where ambulance are based.
Right.
Not for right now.
Mark, did you have something, or somebody else?
Well, you were talking about the east side of town, so there's 3 of us on the east side of town. That cover the whole east side of the county. We need this. No 2 ways about it. There's 3 of us. from 59 East, 3 people. How are we gonna get to you?
I don't know, that's my question.
Jerry, how are we gonna get to you?
So, Mark, just a question to throw out there. How do you see this funding helping that?
The nurses from the towns that we live in. Now, granted, you know, down by you, I don't know how many nurses are down in, that live in that area. We have 6 in Ochiee.
I don't know that I might have one maybe.
Okay. Down, I don't know, Jerry, but how many live in?
To be off the top of my head, I can't think. of
Yeah.
any.
Yeah, Ochiee to Main City would be way closer than Sibley to Main City. Right now, I mean, I can't even bring an ambulance, you know, I got no one, how do I drive and work in the back of an ambulance?
And this is, you know, awesome idea, you know, getting them nurses on board, but we don't need all this money to get these nurses on board. All they have to do is agree to take this 2-day class. $150, I think it cost my daughter. So I don't think the two are intertwined. I mean, we should be able to get them nurses, if they wanna help, they should be getting on right now and helping. Just my opinion, but.
We need people that want to take the course.
Yeah, and like I said, that 2-day RN exempt would cost me $150. So, I mean, it's not horrible cost, it's not a huge time commitment. You just have to, these people that say they wanna help, they just need to step up and help, instead of just, we always hear this, well, we're gonna help, we're gonna take this little class and help, you know, we have nurses here, nurses there. But I don't see anybody stepping up to take this RN exempt class.
I think Roger's the only guy who got on the ambulance crew down in Main City. I don't know him.
He covers Malvern too, basically, so.
No.
And we're second.
Work, yeah.
He can, you know. I guess that's my only question, Mark. How do we get those May Cities, Melvins, Harris? I mean, if we don't have nurses there, how do we get there?
It doesn't just have to be nurses either. I think that's the the easiest to
Yeah, I
get there.
understand.
And then, you know, down the road, having funds to support people going through the EMT course.
But we've got Ty Schultz, who's Melvin Fire Chief, or Fire Department, and Nick Schaefer. They're looking for people in their departments to take the first responder course. So if we can get some first responders in that section, that part of our county, I mean, that'd be huge for us right now at this moment, because they're still training.
Water's got quite a crew, and we went over there and did the CPR class for them, and they were pretty excited, and with this first responder class that's coming up in October here in Sibley, I believe we've got a few people from rural water that are interested in taking that course. So, I mean, it's gonna be expensive, but again, you know, once, you know, our county has always done this, once they have passed the course, you know, we'll have to have them sign an agreement, but we will end up paying that for that course in the end.
How do you ever get to the point of grandfathering people back in? I've had this discussion, and I understand, their theory is, we want the best people on the ambulance you can, but you still, I used to be on the ambulance. I can still get stuff out of the ambulance, I can still drive the ambulance for Mark. How do we get there? And I know they shake their head every time I bring this up. The guy from Sheldon just goes, oh, you're crazy, this will never happen. We need the best service. I understand it's the best service, but we got the best service with Mark, with you. We need people that we just need bodies, help lift the cot, help, I understand the fire departments can come, but I think they should grandfather in. We're always there if we can. I know, but I'm just saying, I don't know why they can't grandfather people that have been on the ambulance.
Yeah, if it's been within probably less than 5 years, they can they can come back and like take a refresher course, maybe a 24-hour refresher course, but they're still gonna want them to take that test again. And that, Gary,
Ain't
right
gonna
there,
happen. Ain't gonna happen.
not
I would do it in a
gonna
heartbeat.
happen. You know that, I know that. They just, they wanna challenge the fact that you know what you're doing. And that's pretty much what
The rules are based on urban areas.
Yeah, I get it, I
Based on,
understand.
they're based on urban areas, and we're not the only ones struggling with this, the colleagues all over the state are struggling with this as well.
All right, anybody else got anything else?
I will gladly make a motion that we approve resolution 8.
The first reading of it, because you can't approve it until next.
Well, remember the wording of the law changed from reading to consideration. So by discussing it, making a motion, approving it, you're completing your consideration. And because it's a new state law, we gotta be real careful, so you're approving the resolution repeatedly.
As a resolution, or not a
First
motion?
consideration.
Yeah, your first consideration, yep.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and support. Mr. Randy Hook? Aye. Mr. Shorty? Aye. Mr. Jones? Aye. Mr. DeBoer? Aye. Mr. Helmut votes aye. Motion has
I'm
passed.
sorry, who seconded that? I was.
All right. Thank you guys all for your time and effort. We appreciate it. Thank you. Discuss ambulance drive. Sandy, are you here for that?
Yeah, I am here. Okay. Did you want any space at all, Kevin? Do you need any space?
Well, of course I need space. I mean, that's,
Oh, yeah, you're a guy.
I don't know what's going on. I mean,
Yeah, we're confused,
just,
right?
at one time, you're gonna build a new building, and one time, I've heard it two ways. You're gonna build a new building, and the sheriff's office and Ernie get the new building, and the ambulance stays in the old one. And then I heard it just the other way around, too. The sheriff's and Ernie gets the old building, and the ambulance is getting the new building. So I'm just kind of confused about what's going on.
First, all we need is a new building, and we can figure out then who gets what.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Well, that's gonna depend a little bit on the business. Well, I didn't say it anyway.
So, when I talked to Ernie, and I talked to Kevin and Kevin's crew, they're just looking for a shop area. Well, is that about correct, Dee, how you named it? A shop. So they're just looking for 5 stalls, nothing fancy, maybe a cemented floor, obviously. And those are things that can be attainable very easily. I can't have that. I mean, if I build something, if it's gonna be for the ambulance garage, I want my office in there, I want a meeting room, I need enough storage area, not only for the stuff that's already in there, but I have PPE stuck up in the house that probably eventually Kevin's gonna charge me rent on, but, I need the space for all of my stuff to be at the same place. It is not good for me to have my ambulances in one place and then for the crew to walk over and now they're gonna be in the storeroom, which is gonna be Kevin's building, and I'm sure he doesn't want a bunch of people dropping in and out of his stuff either. So it doesn't make sense for me to move. It makes sense for me to renovate what I have, which is probably gonna be a hell of a lot cheaper than trying to build something that is all for the ambulance. The meeting room, the office space, and enough storage, and to get that, fixed back up. And like I said before, at the first meeting, most of the things that I need to have done on that building can be covered under the recovery fund, or the ARPA money. These guys just need a shop. They don't need a bathroom maybe, know, maybe you don't need water in there, you know, maybe they just want electric to have a little bit of heat. And to me, that's a lot cheaper than trying to build something for myself, you know.
So are you satisfied having the old ambulance garage all to yourself? And what do you think needs to be done to it?
Yes, I would be more than satisfied, Jerry, if I could get that renovation done to fix it so I can put my PPE back in there, and it would be, you know, right now, the windows, everything, I mean, but that is a good building. I know it was built in 1949, but you go and walk in that shop, there's not big cracks in the cement. Yes, you know, she's been neglected. You know, there is some things that have to be replaced and done, but, you know, you look at some of the other state buildings that they have done around town, I mean, like the one in Sheldon, I mean, that's a nice building. The one in Spencer, they did some renovating on it, and it's a nice building. And there's nothing saying that this one can't be either. But I just need big enough for, I don't want a shop, I want a nice building. I mean, and I think that, and I'd be satisfied with, if we can just do the renovations, and I'll just stay where I'm at.
And what are you talking about for renovations?
For
You know, I guess my big theory is if you're gonna renovate the whole thing, it's gonna cost us $200,000 to renovate it, then go the opposite way. I mean, I'm not trying to argue with you, I'm just,
No.
you know, I don't know what you want for renovations, you know.
So when basically what I'm looking for is window replacement, and when I do that, I'll probably put new siding on the outside. And I was gonna put lighting in, so that, you know, right now we just have this fluorescent lights and it looks like a cave in there, so the new lighting, with doing window replacement, I was gonna do the heating and cooling in the garage area, so we can have that PPE in there and the garage stays at a nice temperature. And then just some painting done to it, you know.
You gotta insulate it.
Pardon?
You gotta insulate it.
And we have to insulate it. And we did get quotes for all of this. I have quotes for this stuff. And again, these are quotes you know, every time we push this back, you know how things are right now. Everything went up. So, just having the heating and cooling system that, you know, went up like $3,000 or $4,000. You know, so it's important that we start making a decision on what's gonna happen here. I'm perfectly fine with sharing my lot, not really my lot, but I'm sharing my lot with these guys, I mean, for them to have their shop, that's not a problem, you know?
Kevin, you got anything to say, what you want, what your wants, I mean,
All I would like to have, 3 stalls, floor drain, a little bit of heat.
Well, those stalls need to be secured or sectioned off.
I'd like to have one of them just secured and sectioned off for evidence.
One, okay. I support EMS and EMA staying in the current building. I would just like Ernie and Kevin to work out what they would like a building to look like, I didn't know what the answer was, how much needed to be secured, what room you needed for evidence, so get some of those answers, and then that kind of create what the new building would need to look like.
And Ernie talked to, you talked to, Premier Construction.
Yep.
And he is working with, Schmidt Lumber right now to put some plans together. I mean, that's what I heard yesterday. But this is their,
And Dan needs to stall, correct? Or he needs to stall somewhere, he has, what does he?
he has a pump that has to be in a heated place. But again, nothing is gonna get done on these guys' shop until this spring. We just fiddled around too much.
do you have those quotes for different things, sir?
Yeah.
Could I get a copy sometime, or?
You bet.
Okay.
It's like $120,000.
Okay.
Just like 120.
I got about $125,000.
For everything?
To renovate, yeah.
I almost think we should start there. What do you guys wishes? I'd say we start the renovation.
Good enough for them, and that's what we should do.
Is that a motion? I think that is a motion. Any other questions, concerns? I have a motion to move on with the renovation of the old ambulance project. Do I have support? And support. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, same sign, motion carried.
So we're all on the same page.
Yeah, we're all on the same page.
You're right.
Michelle can't be on the road.
We're done.
9:30, public hearing on second reading of ordinance number 60, establishing fees and bonding requirements for work within Osceola County right of way. Is that you?
Yes, Mr. Chair, so this is, the second reading, this, ordinance is basically what was discussed in prior meetings, which was to remove the, bonding requirement, the simple bonds, and go to a straight permit fee for work in the right of way of $100. The other, fees that are showing up on here are just a kind of a recodification of existing fees for the hauling permit. Those are the existing fees that we have in effect right now. And then this would also have a more substantial bonding requirement for projects that are of significant cost above $50,000. They would be required to bond for 110% of the value of the work in the right of way. Most projects that we deal with would fall well under that $50,000. If someone was to do something, say, for instance, a major development would build a turn lane or something substantial, or a box culvert or something, that would trip that. But by and large, most of the work that we do falls under the $50,000. There's also an exemption for other public agencies who themselves would be dealing with any bonding that they would require, or dealing with any procurement. So school districts or the cities that we deal with, they would not have to pay these right-of-way fees. And we don't pay fees in the cities for our work as well, so it's kind of a reciprocation of that.
Comments, and it was published in the paper last week, Wednesday. So
I received no phone calls about it either.
All right. Anybody else have any questions or anything? I'll close the public hearing then. Consider waiving third reading of ordinance number 60, establishing fees and bonding requirements for work within Osceola County right of way. Second reading. Third.
I think we have to approve this ordinance first, we have to approve this ordinance.
I'll make the motion to that. And a motion and support to approve second reading of ordinance number 60. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Now,
I make the motion to waive the third reading.
have a motion to waive the third reading. Support. And support. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Well, we'll back up to, well, we can take a break for 2 minutes. No break?
We could use it.
No breaks, no breaks for you. Get a smaller cup. No. Jason, did you have a good time on your trip?
It was a good trip.
It was on Friday. Facebook or anything, so you must behave yourself.
As always.
Something broke.
Thank you.
Caught on one, maybe?
Makes sense like these.
Get Tori all settled in.
We're here from her last night.
Okay, well, that's,
First
maybe
day
you could,
went well.
yeah.
Where did she go to?
Northwestern, Orange City.
Oh.
On Friday. That was a new experience.
Mm-hmm.
How was it for Dad?
Second year is.
My son, I didn't struggle with, my daughter, I struggled with.
She's been wanting to go and around so much anyway, it's just kind of a finalization of what kind of already seemed to be.
Yeah, you used to not seeing her anyway.
Because I remember when Ally was the queen and she was a little mess that year, that's a long time.
Oh, no, I just saw that.
It seems a lot easier this year, so.
Yeah. Was he back home all summer? I didn't see
Yeah,
him a lot.
yeah, he was working out the store.
How was your trip, Michelle?
That's great.
Good.
Yeah, that's a good time.
Is that a good ride?
Yeah, it is, it's a beautiful ride. Almost like riding in the hills.
Yep.
Really?
Is Tori doing symphonic dance?
Actually.
I don't.
Did you guys go there, so I think so.
Okay,
No.
well, they have symphonic for jazz or orchestra.
We're kind of.
The symphonic is kind of the main one.
We used to do roller people on
Okay,
that.
well, it's just,
You gotta worry about when they want to stop.
Right.
they're
right.
outstanding because they went from the concert last year.
We thought Saturday was gonna be a little iffy with weather, you know, it's supposed to thunderstorm and hail, but we rode maybe in a mile of light rain and rode out of it, and then in the afternoon, the sun was out, and it was all good, so. It's definitely a ride we'll do again.
That's good.
Yeah.
Maybe even.
Yeah.
Discuss maintenance wage. Now, you already go ahead, you have something to.
Well, I put a little, kind of a little thing here together to show that my position here really is more of an hourly than it is a salary. And ever since I was put on salary, I'm losing money.
But when you started them, weren't you doing two positions at that time?
Yep.
Weren't you doing the cleaning too?
Yep.
Yeah, but I was working a lot more hours.
But I'm just trying to, I just looked at this, and I'm just kind of thinking, part of that was for cleaning and part of it was for your maintenance side.
Yep.
Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
I wasn't doing the cleaning because the show was already here.
No, but back in 2000, how long has she been here?
She's been here a long time. Since then, she was already here. She started back in I want to say 98, 99.
No,
Oh, Michelle?
we hired.
No, she's been the last 2 years,
2000.
No, it's been.
probably
It's been
2019 or 18, 19,
I would say right around 18.
19, 20 since she's been here.
Yeah.
Michelle.
I think she
And-
had 3 to 4
That's what I tell you, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, I didn't think she was that long.
It's been a while.
I don't remember when we hired her, but it's been the last 2 or 3
And
years.
then before that, your wife helped out, I think.
Because we gave her the hours.
Michelle.
Yeah. The only reason is because we got winter coming, and that's where I put a lot of hours in. So moving stuff. And I'm not, excuse me, if I'm gonna be moving snow, I'd like to get paid to move the snow instead of going on comp time. Because if I work 40 hours this week, and if I work another 40 hours, I'll give you guys 5 hours, basically, just give you 5 hours before I even get any comp time. I lose 5 hours every payday before I even get any comp time.
Time should start right away.
No, it doesn't.
You would have to, you scheduled for 37 and a half, but like everybody, no one gets comp time in the handbook until you work 40 hours.
So I'm losing,
That's in our handbook.
so I'm losing 5 hours every time until I hit that 40 hours.
Okay, I understand that now. That's not the full in the handbook.
So, yeah, that's the only reason I wanted to kind of go back to hourly, mainly because of the winter time. Because with winter, I'm gonna end up putting a lot more hours. And,
But it still balances out with the summer hours. So I mean, you're not putting in those kind of hours in the summer, that you're still getting paid for it.
I still put in my 37 and a half in the summertime.
I'm gonna have to.
There's other stuff that I'm doing in order to keep up with 37 and a half. There's other projects that I'm doing that keep me busy. The only thing I'm doing right now is that because the winter's coming, I'd like to be able to get paid for this.
Well, it says right in here, Renita, it says, I do not have enough to do in a 7.5 hour day in the summer. So I'm like,
Between,
I'm just going with what you gave me here, and that's
Yeah,
what
I pointed out,
that's what it
you let
says.
me answer, please.
in the summertime, when that season, when there's not enough rain or lack of rain, yes, I have to look for stuff to do in order to keep myself busy for the 7.5 hours. There are things to do, but then I have to look for that stuff. If I was in the hourly, if you put me on the hour, then I can leave 4.5, 5 hours. It all washes out then, because I get called out from either the ambulance, if something happens, or I get called out from the sheriff's department, or I get called out at night to come out. One way or another, I still make the 7.5 hours. I'll make 37.5 hours a week. Right now, last week, I ended up making 42 hours. I took off early on Friday because I was over my hours. So, there's plenty of things to do at the courthouse. But with winter coming, this is the reason I want to go back to hourly, unless you want to pay me for the winter hours.
Winters haven't been that bad the last couple of years.
See, I don't expect you to work.
That's what I'm saying.
But there's a lot of people in here that are on the same salary schedule that you're on, that have to put in extra time.
All I'm saying is, if you want me to remove the snow, I like to get paid and not go on comp time.
Do you remember was there a reason you went to?
Because there was so much overtime being accumulated.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. Because, I mean, being here at 3 AM to move snow doesn't make a whole lot of
See,
sense.
when Barb was there, she asked me if I wanted to make the extra money by moving snow instead of hiring out.
I mean, it makes more sense to wait till it quits snowing when you come in the morning to move it, rather than coming in at 3 AM and work until everybody shows up at 7. I mean, that's kind of how we ended up in this discussion to begin with. I mean, the simplest thing to do would probably be just make them 40 hours, so then this comp time gap isn't an issue. Michelle? If the handbook says 40, then just make it 40, and then, I don't know how we ended up with this gap, with that 37 and a half, why you wouldn't be accumulating comp time after that, but if that's what the handbook says, it's gotta be 40, then just move it to 40.
And then what about the extra hours and, removing snow, how does that
That's
work?
comp time, just like your election worker time, when you guys gotta do your election stuff.
So you don't wanna pay for moving the snow.
You're still getting paid comp time.
I don't know. I think you should have some. And I'm just trying to figure out why.
You're getting paid time off, it's the same thing.
Well, if it's the same thing, then what's it hurt to pay them hours?
The reason we went to the salary is because there was so much overtime accumulated with that position.
But if we're paying him and he's not here taking comp time,
Let me put it to you another way, Jason. If you want to get further down into this discussion, we're gonna have to have a closed session, which isn't on the agenda to discuss employee performance. So to have this discussion really should be closed session. If you want to get into why we did this in the first place, because I believe that was a closed session discussion for that as well. Because now you're talking employee performance review, what you should be getting paid, and this kind of really doesn't fit in with that.
would you like to request further consideration?
If you don't think I'm doing my job here, then you need to just let me know.
But we can't do that in open session, we would need to do a closed session, so if that's a part of it.
I'd like to do a little bit more research before I make a decision. But I don't have a problem with, paying you for the extra time you put in. But I just wanna figure something out.
Is that,
As far as you,
is that hourly or salary?
as far as you doing your job, yes, you do your job. I don't have a problem with that.
So you guys wanna table this for now?
Yeah.
Get a little more information
Yep.
and we'll go from there.
We include a review as part of the discussion?
Sure.
Or would you like that, would you request closed session or not, Ernie?
The only reason with this is because of the snow coming up. And I was gonna be moving snow, I wanna go back to the hourly. I didn't want it sometime. I'm gonna spend my time here moving snow for this winter. No more comp time, I just wanna get paid for it.
Well, I'm sure everybody that's salaried here in the courthouse getting comp time would rather be paid hourly as well.
If you're gonna spend 12 hours moving snow, I'm sure that they're not gonna want comp time.
But like again, you shouldn't be moving snow for 12 hours, even our road crew guys that are doing that.
They're not gonna be here throughout the night. And that little tractor is not gonna be pushing that snow that's a foot deep. You gotta
I don't know.
keep the sheriff open, you gotta keep the ambulance open.
We will, put this on the agenda next.
If he's not gonna request closed session, we don't get to make that decision. It's gotta be at the employee's request. If we want job review to be a part of it, and you're not going to request closed session,
I'm just
then the
saying,
discussion needs to continue.
once you start discussing those things, I'm gonna touch base with Jack.
Let me think about this, because we can work something out.
You guys okay with that, Jason?
Yep. Make a motion to table this till next meeting, Friday.
Have a motion to table this?
For next, for Tuesday,
Friday.
what, Friday? Well, we're meeting Friday, or we're meeting the 30th of next week, so we can either do it Friday, or we can make it the 30th. Jason won't be here on Friday because he's at ISAC.
I'd say put it on for next Tuesday, the 30th.
Make a motion to table it to the 30th.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Take motion to get this. Approved nonprofit contract with Family Crisis Center, that's just a formality.
Yeah, you know, the nonprofit, we give to them and
Yep.
we use them for this.
Make that motion.
I have a motion to approve that nonprofit contract. And support, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Discuss hiring a floater between the auditor's office and the treasurer's. I think would be a great idea.
Becky and I have been talking, you know, she needs somebody for driver's license, and drainage clerk is our main goal. We hired drainage clerk, they would do the auditor side and the treasurer side. That drainage is unbelievable, how much extra work that is. And I was,
believe it.
person for scanning, elections, and Becky did.
Yeah, exercise, you know, I just want 32 years of experience, so process is not great as it is, so, and I'm going to probably losing back here come next. So it'd just be nice to get one more person under our belt and, you know, before we were comfortable with two of us in the office when someone was on vacation, or, you know, sometimes it was one, so now I'm not sure that would be very good, so, yeah, you know, driver's license, maybe even get them into drive here, still getting trained for that, but take the process. Yeah, just everyday work. You know, I used to have 4 people in there for a while, and then, you know, we were pretty efficient fast, and so we had also 32 years, I was in it for 30 years, so just that experience helps, so just trying to get back into the groove of getting coming up.
And, you know, there's gonna be
Tax
times,
season, I mean,
yeah, you know, when she has tax time, she, this person may be working in her office the whole week and not mine, you know, and vice versa with elections. And we'll, you know, we'll work it out if she's, you know, the person that gets hired cannot do passports. They can't issue driver's license or birth certificate, so this person will not be doing passports. But I have 3 in my office that can, so that's not a concern.
You don't have to convince me, I think it's
Drainage is the largest factor in this. Those costs should be borne by the drainage districts requiring the work. Is there a way to?
you don't get paid that now.
No, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I can do it, take it out of part of it rural either, I don't know. We were talking, we were just gonna split the salary 50/50 and all the expenses 50/50.
And then throw the scanning too.
Yeah, scanning election records and everything.
Could the other offices use her to a scanning?
Yeah, I think Keith, you know, I think there's all offices up here that could, once we get caught up, can utilize that person to scan.
How do you go about, if that's the case, how do you go about deciding who pays what?
Well, we were.
I mean, if they really move around.
Yeah, I'm not for sure how, we could take it out, we could create a new line like in data processing, that's a, you know, if this person's just gonna be scanning, we could just do data processing. You know, for right now, we're just gonna start it out, I think, 50/50 between Becky and my office.
What happens when you get caught up?
I don't know if that's what we're gonna talk to Leroy. This drainage keeps
They'll
coming
just
out.
slow down.
It just seems like it's getting busier and busier. We have a lot of, minutes, board minutes that can be scanned, and, we'll have to purchase a scanner for that stuff. Voter registration, I already have a scanner, so that person will show up.
I'm sure secondary roads are keep her busy for a couple of years. There's a lot of backlog.
I mean, it's gonna take a while before we get caught up, but
If you need a motion to do it, I would make a motion.
I prefer to see you work with Jack and get a job description, a little bit better,
and I talked to Jack about that, and he said he would.
what it exactly looks like, we're not opposed to it, but I just think that would be a better point to take that
There's some
on
questions.
personally. Or if it opens it up to other offices, how does that fall in line, when are they available, what process is there, I guess I'd like a little better clarity on what it might look like, I won't support it.
I talked to Jack about it already, we just haven't got the fine details done about the job description, he said he would work with us once he had it.
So do you want a motion to move on, or just table it?
To move on, because it's gonna take a while to get that done. By that time, Jack will have all his information back here.
Okay. Got a motion? Do I have support?
And it's three big things, most counties, like, I called for this mess, we just had that $1 million budget, and they're like, well, doesn't your community just do that? What? Like, I don't know what they're talking about, but it's like, strictly, that's all they do is just their drainage stuff, well, now ours doesn't come from there and here, like, that, I think would be really nice, especially if we get this other project, because it does take a lot of time, and I spent a lot of hours.
Especially with waivers, because you
The waivers,
some
that
waivers
would be nice, but.
And it's gonna take a while to get somebody up here too.
I would really like to see what Jack has to say about how it's all gonna work. Any motion, or if nobody supports it, or deny. I guess that motion dies for lack of a second. Do you wanna put it on the agenda for next Tuesday?
Come back with a job description.
Okay. I'm not against it, just wanna see what it looks like. I think it's a good idea. Okay.
Jack, he's coming today, so maybe we can talk to him about it.
Okay. Approve resolution number 9, 22-23, establishing local government opioid abatement.
Yeah, we're in that opioid lawsuit,
Yep.
so, I've never done this before, but other counties say you need to have a resolution to set up one, so, I'm doing this week. I think the first phase, they're getting $3,800 from that. So I have to set up a separate fund for that, and it can only be used for opioid education, and so no one will have to work with. Some of them are working with their home health agencies to do this, so I'm not for sure what we are going to do with the money as of yet, but.
All right.
Can I make a motion to approve resolution number 9?
Have a motion? Support. And support. Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Shelby? Aye. Mr. Mander? Aye. Mr. Moore? Mr. Helmer votes aye. Motion carried. Well, guess we'll look through these claims quick.
Water services claims 259 and 329.
Make a motion to pay those claims.
I'll support that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
I see the bill and your facility, do they still get salt through you guys?
They have in the past, because we've done reimbursements,
Yeah.
where they would pay us reimbursements.
No, I know that's how.
We haven't done that yet, but yeah, in the past they've done that.
I have a feeling that might, some of that discussion might get slipped by, because Dan's having a hard time, or, might. So you might wanna visit with them.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other, business? Courthouse committees? Future agenda items?
That EMS resolution be on the agenda the 30th, unless you guys want to review the wording before then. Can't consider it conference official. We're working on that wording.
I don't have any committee reports there, but, Jason, have anything?
Yeah, like I said, busy weeks, but, yeah, I appreciate a call if you needed an alternate for my public safety or something. Brendan kind of called me last minute. Was able to do it by phone, and it worked out.
I apologize.
So it was just kind of hard to plan short notice.
Sherry's mind wasn't in the game today.
Just a reminder, Rotary dinner is tomorrow. Chuck Grassley will be at Pizza Ranch tomorrow from 11 till noon. Just a reminder. Set on my calendar to remind me.
Friday?
And Friday we have a meeting. The normal time, 8:45. And then next week Tuesday, 8:45 as well.
Friday, 14th.
Brett Dolan, public hearing, and then we have to have a second reading of the EMS.
Okay.
At normal time, 8:45. We have to have the final consideration of the EMS and then, the wording to put on the ballot. And the 31st is the deadline to have that in my office, put it on the general ballot. Next Wednesday's the deadline.
We gonna make it?
I hope so. There's a, I know 2 or 3 counties that are putting it on the ballot in November.
What's wrong?
Jones. Jones for sure. And then Bennett County, another county looking into it.
Our surrounding counties.
Not that I've heard.
Before you get to some county, does it? Did anybody sign that, did you sign the, USDA for Sandy that day? I hope that. She called me this morning about she just got the papers, like that day. She didn't call me yet. Oh, I told her to call you. Anyway, she just got that papers the day before, she had them signed that day and had them turned back in, and I said, well, that's not it. I said, I was assuming you could do it. Maybe you couldn't do it. I would have, I know, maybe you couldn't, maybe I couldn't. You forgot. Yeah. I forgot to ask her that when she was in.
How's Glenda doing?
You're good. She drove herself to the PT today. First time I drove her.
I may have signed it.
Make sure to keep her, every foot on.
Well, she probably would have called me, you were remember, that was last
Surgery.
Wednesday. I don't think she called.
I thought she, oh, we had to go, she had an infection.
Yeah, if I got time when I'm done, but I said I
it was all because of that.
I don't know, I completely,
It was kind of, they used it as a
Call Mike.
they used it.
one of the other guys could sign it.
Actually had three or four tumors on their knee because of it.
I apologize for that, Jason. Leroy, you didn't go to public safety?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
So you didn't either? So I know I should have told you,
Yes, I watched it. But it takes 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was a quick meeting,
I bet you had to because there was.
they needed a quorum, but
How are you, Jen?
Whether you like it or not.
Temporarily, but coming back.
You got brain disease.
It is nothing else, yeah, you're right, 10:30.
Is there an athletic boost for golf Sunday?
so, yeah.
This was one, is this something you guys discussed? Is this on the trail or something?
Oh, yeah, I asked about their 7/10 of a mile that's not in our name.
Well, this looks like a repair.
Oh, that was a repair, yeah. Yeah, I had a call on that, no way it sounds just in the market. I think that's kind of dangerous.
That's about where that other one was?
Next to that, you're gonna fill it in. I think so. But wasn't that behind?
Jason's, isn't it?
Yeah, by Jason's.
So this is the same spot it was before, did he say?
He didn't say.
In that vicinity, not the same spot.
Not the same spot? I haven't ridden it this year. Did they ever put that culvert in?
I'm guessing they did, I don't know.
No, and, John, I think, Smith, had
Yeah,
just done the repair.
yeah. Oh, I didn't, because I haven't ridden it this year. That's gotta be pretty darn close.
Who owns that 7/10 of a mile? I thought we owned that whole trail.
Well, that is an argument to be had.
Well, Ed gave me some information on that. And, I'm gonna,
Who says they own it?
I don't know, I don't know who owns it.
One time I heard George owned it. And one time I heard the elevator owned it.
I don't even know where it's at, I just
Right
heard.
along the elevator there.
Oh, okay.
Hey, if that's the one you're talking about. It goes from like, right by the elevator to 7/10 of a mile. Well,
And
if it's the one I'm thinking about, maybe Ted could.
But I'm gonna visit some people over in Dixon County about that.
Was there an issue with it now?
No, I just wanted to know why we didn't know it. And I thought we owned the whole thing.
What's that? On that little piece of trail we don't own.
Who owns that?
Well, the Heritage Foundation thing that Kurt told, and it was in the agreement that we had with them, that I gave to you.
Yeah, I saw that.
It said how much it was supposed to be, and it was supposed to come out of that grant. Dickinson County spent all the grant money, and then wanted us to pay for that out of pocket.
I was just wondering who owned it, because I didn't know.
The Heritage Foundation owns it. Technically, Dickinson County still owes us the money because they spent it. And we had this discussion with the board after Jerry and I went to that.
Is that right by the Eppendorf elevator there?
Yeah, that was where we went and met with Steve and Bill.
Yep.
And they said they'd take care of it. Well, evidently it didn't get taken care of because she overspent by a lot. And I don't know how she was able to spend without their board's approval to overspend what the budget was out of that grant money. That whole thing was,
Which bill?
beautiful.
Good, I see him right there.
I don't think they know anything about it.
Probably.
I just don't think they were ever informed.
Well, at least I get him back on the.
That whole thing was something. The first meeting Terry and I showed up to, they wanted a big check from us, and I'm like, well,
They wanted 100 and
some
some thousand, I don't remember what it was.
not how this agreement works. You weren't allowed to spend money on our behalf without telling us. And you spent more than the grant money, and then you also want us to pay for this other parcel that we already included in the grant application. That needs to get sorted out, and nobody really wanted to make a big, bring it to the light of day program, so we know, we just take care of it, but it would have to get taken care of. Okay.
Will you please post this and put an email for the HMS school? Trying to get that word out there. I have to post it on the door, but.
What's the other one? Where was that?
I'm combining HMS school district.
Go into Melvin.
And Melvin.
Make it dry, we can't go eat.
Yeah. Couldn't find poll workers. Spencer Fair.
You're not gonna find anybody.
I tried. I didn't have a choice. The Republican rallies next Monday night. I got your, if anybody's interested. Next Monday.
Where's that, in Cheatham?
Yes.
How do we start that?
Are you going to the dinner? That's my main dinner.
What time?
It's, the dinner's at 6 o'clock next Monday.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Are you going to the dinner? Okay. That's the main thing what I need to know. No, burn unit.
Oh, that's right.
Punk kid. Very fun. Drawing a blank here. I'm trying to get Jack here sooner, but he is unavailable. Monday night, 6 o'clock is when the meeting starts.
Sunday.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you very much.
Yep. I have a lot of people from the
What happened to the, District 3, 152 is off the table,
No, 152, 178, 78 off the table.
152,
78, we have remonstrance in that one.
So you won't get it in the other one, will you?
No, not,
When we understand, they're gonna have to figure out.
a different outlet or
Yes.
something for 152. It's continuation until November.
You didn't like that. Too expensive.
That was a $6 million project. But some of the landowners had to rethink some of that 152, that's in 152, they had to rethink some of it because, try to help out their neighbors, for the extra cost and.
Be quite a expense.
It's my understanding they can't object anymore.
Because
It's-
they don't
had enough people.
Well,
Yeah.
because of the public, they had to object before that public hearing, but if they wanna reconsider withdraw their petition for option 3, then they can do that. I'm glad Brian Young was there.
Yeah, I bet that did help.
It's good to have legal counsel there.
Option 3 is just improving the part that
Yes, I believe so.
prior to one.
How does that work then? If they have to improve the outlet, then,
Well, they'll
they
have
don't
their
have,
next,
the guys down the street don't have any choice?
I don't know if they do,
You get some open ditch on part of this.
Oh, that's where it ends up, at the open ditch?
I think so, right? They're going to amend the engineer's report. So, a lot of money.
Heck of a lot of money.
Everything's going on.
It takes a lot of years of crop to make up that kind of money.
They say it pays back, but.
Yeah, but so
long
many
time,
years.
yeah.
Well, I was thinking, when I was quarter section, she got assessed $5,000 per acre, she probably had some farm.
Yeah, and my mom would too.
You know,
The way my mom would afford that.
maybe that's what they want.
Actually, she lives in Lyons County, there's no drainage over there. We're good. Nope, it's all private. They want to go through my mom's, pasture, because they want to, from the land, they want to west, they want to make it more productivity, but we don't own the land, or my mom doesn't own the land, but they want to go through my mom's pasture, and Mom Terry's like, well, probably can, but we're not paying for it, it doesn't benefit us.
So they can go, you got
They
to
could.
be okay.
Yeah. They're not, they haven't come back, because Terry's like, we're not paying it.
Oh.
Because it would go through my mom's pasture, just land that my mom doesn't own, so why would we pay for that? Terry said if they want to pay for it, we can consider it, but
I think they can actually force the issue.
maybe for private.
I had that on, I had it on the background.
So who owns that pasture?
They don't live, mom owns the pasture, but the land next to the pastures, they want to.
What the tax money,
It's what they want to tile, but they make it farmable.
So did they at one time own the old diamond?
Yeah, we still do. For my mom,
Or
still
still
has.
has?
Yeah, where the old white diamond used to live, yeah.
So they get all the revenue off of it?
I don't know if I got any revenue off of that, I don't remember how that went anymore, but yeah, but we still own the land.
They still play ball on it?
Mm-mm.
No?
No. My dad, we played a lot of ball out in that area. My dad, we did a lot of fast pitch tournaments growing up. My dad was like,
I didn't play ball over there time or two.
my dad was a really good pitcher. And a hitter, but a horrible runner. He had a lot of, Marion Gray was my dad's high school coach, and he said, my dad was the only player he ever had that could hit a ball 3 or 4 rows into a cornfield and only make it to third base. So, my dad was not a runner.
It's basically pretty far apart.
Yeah, that's why he had to be a good hitter and a pitcher to make up for that.
I guess on other business, does anybody have an issue with the secondary roads taking care of that trail? A couple of the secondary road guys asked me, since conservation, Nick does not want to take care of it, if it would be all right if they mowed it twice a year, twice a year. And secondary roads is fixing all the repairs and
I don't
miscellaneous.
have a problem with this doing it. I was almost positive it was the agreement with conservation that they had.
Nick, no, because Nick doesn't have enough people, he doesn't have enough people, because he couldn't get summer help for mowing or whatever, but he didn't wanna take care of it when we had that discussion, so that's how secondary roads ended up taking care of the repairs, because otherwise Nick would be taking care of lining up repairs, you know, when we've had all those separations of the tile or whatever underneath the
I thought Mike said
trail.
they're gonna take care of it.
Yeah, they're gonna do the, but like the general day-to-day maintenance stuff, or the mowing, secondary roads doesn't they do it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the guys in secondary roads that have been using that trail this summer, and they said it sucks driving down it when you got all the feet coming off the tall grass up in here.
Yeah, no, much last year.
Drawn up and
That,
go from there.
Nick said he wasn't gonna do it, so.
Hey, Lucky.
We had a bunch of guys that were volunteering to maintain separate strips of that, but they can't do the whole thing. And they've got the weed equipment
Next Monday, I
to,
can't.
to spray it, so if there's weed issues, and that way if they drive down it a couple times this summer, they'll know
I
it's
never knew
gonna be
that.
fixed. So I was gonna talk to you about that at the meeting, and say, hey, this is officially
Did you get
your guys'
your letter or no?
Yeah. But not up in Sioux Falls.
Okay.
When it,
Monday night at 6 o'clock, you know, chief,
yeah,
you're public to that,
you got that.
When is it?
next Monday.
You don't have to go to that down.
I didn't know that.
Are you going or not?
Yeah, I'm going.
Okay.
I don't think I sent back my,
No, I'm trying to get an RSVP count. I don't have very many so far.
We can go to the Tracy house, can't we do it?
Yeah, 4 to 5. I'd like to go to that, I've never been there.
really?
Mhm.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah, I'd like to go.
I'll find out for sure.
I guess you could go for 2. So I gotta give you the money before or after, or?
Whatever, as long as I have a count.
She said she's taking care of it all.
No, I didn't say that. Yeah, my own to take care of.
I don't have control of the pocketbook, so I need to know these things.
You guys all go to like, we went to, Elmer's Toy and Museum down there in Fountain City. All of you would have loved that place.
Really?
Old cars, 59 Chevys, Camaros, mopeds, old motorcycle,
Older or?
older, yeah, 59, 69.
Never
It was-
been to that one in Milford?
No,
That's kind of a cool
Have
place.
you never been there? That is,
That's something.
that's cool too.
Oh, this place was, and his kids are selling it. They're selling all of it, so this is the last time that it's open in Fountain City, Wisconsin.
I can think of lakes painted.
Oh,
You walk in there, they swear you're on Main Street, you know?
the first time I was in there, he was still working on that, so. That's,
Yeah, that's fun.
but I've been there every year since they opened.
Just like going into Main Street.
Did you go look at the world's largest food?
That we did not.
I did, it was quite cool.
Is that Red Wing?
Yeah.
We never got
Red
that
Wing.
far. We were going to, but we never got that far.
Pretty area.
It is pretty area.
Next time.
Very,
You're not going west anymore, you're going east.
I don't know about that, but for right now. And then we went to one of the waterfalls in Decorah, and here was Pat and Giuliani. I was like,
Really?
they didn't recognize me. But, yeah, that was good. Yeah, the hairdryer curling iron was pretty bad.
No matter where you go, you see somebody.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Or some relative.
Mhm.
Jack, how are you doing?
Well, not too bad.
Do you need a cup of coffee?
No, I'm good, thanks. I'm
coffee done for the day.
I don't think Mike ever gets coffee now. At noon. At noon and I'm done. You got a lot of drinking to do there, yeah. I don't go on that path. Oh, you don't? No. And we've done pretty good on that pot on the right. I still think instead of that, we should have a refrigerator around and we can get a can of pop. There's no downstairs. This is free. I don't know.
When's the first round? When's the first round?
Towards the end of September. No, I shouldn't say that because I saw on the golf course the other day, there's a couple of trees starting to turn.
So there's hopes that we'll get a hard freeze and my allergies will feel much better.
I wonder if it's going to be an early frost. Is it dairy job? Is it dairy? Well, I think they've been chopping it right. Have they?
Bad up yesterday, the wife ended up sleeping somewhere else in the house.
You ever get allergies shot?
Well, I take any antihistamine, but I skipped it for a few days because I left it at home and I went out of town. And to get it, like if you skip it for a few days, you have to build that back up.
What's the worst thing? What bothers you the most?
Soybean dust, like pollen, anything green. Like when all the pine trees go to bloom in Colorado and your car is like completely yellow. Every time I go back home to visit the folks that try to move wood that time of year. But this year's been particularly, it was dry, but it's green, and it's dry, and it's green.
Yes, I've got 3 evergreens in my backyard that died. Neighbors know one that died. What's going on?
I got a whole bunch that got winter kill.
If a lot of them are half dead or.
A lot of big trees are, yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Too cold and no water.
May as well take them down. I'm gonna wait until next year to see if they do come around again.
I doubt it.
And some, I lost the tops out of the evergreens. I don't know. One of the old guys thought it was just winter kill because it was just too cold and not enough moisture, so.
My whole tree is brown.
Yeah, my evergreen I like to get rid of, but I can't get rid of good trees.
I really don't wanna get rid of these trees, my problem.
I've got some that are getting old.
I get rid of that tree for, since we moved in 31 years ago, it's still there.
Yeah, those are the ones that never die.
I know, but I just can't do it.
Takes a long to grow a new one.
How much here's my lifetime? It's somewhat like that coming through, so too.
Do like Lord Bosman, get a tree spade and plant a bunch of.
That hearing is coming up, right, the 13th of September for that part-time. ISG will be there, won't Alpha County.
All right, Jack, we're getting close to 10:30, by the time you get something. Are you saying it takes a while?
No.
I'm just saying it's close enough.
Oh, okay.
Close enough, okay. Well, I won't take up much of your time today. Wanted to, give you kind of a review of the last fiscal year of service areas that
we provide as a county, and, won't go into much detail. It is a summary, some of this information, some of those situations on there are confidential, and so that's why I just kind of give you the
Well,
summary.
I don't know if I can have one if they're confidential stuff, but, I'll take one if I can, but I don't.
Well, you can as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
It's only a general summary.
Okay. As soon as I hear confidential, I would be sure.
Sure. But the confidential part's what's behind some of these things that I'm not gonna go into, so, but, no, you're welcome to have it. So I just kinda, went through this. Good morning. Good morning. More or less by department for the most part, with the exception of that, we send out, if you look at the overview part here, I'm just gonna point out a couple things on here for you. You look at the part there, it says 18 informational bulk emails. Those are bulk emails that go out to all of our county clients. Basically, they are like things that are reminders or updates, like when they changed the mileage law, and the federal government changed the mileage law, when they changed that, we sent that out to everybody, so just so you know what it is. If there's been court decisions that happen that could affect a county, we send that out, just the part that would basically apply to you as a county, not the whole thing by any means, and, so that's what those things are. Some of that there, also in that fiscal year, had to do with COVID, and, COVID situations, that we was sending one out, and then 2 weeks later, we send an updated, revised one out, and then 2 weeks later, and that's kind of how that went. But anyhow, I'm just trying to keep people up to date. And so those are general information type of things that go out, and things about, union contracts and so on and so forth. So that's what those are. Those generally go to the auditor's office unless that there's somebody on point that would be like the sheriff's office or engineer, and then it would go to them as well. But other than that, they mostly go to the auditor's office. You can see that, part of that year had to do with, hiring an engineer, then all the communications back and forth and exchange information and so on and so forth. I would just tell you, what I've been doing recently here with the engineer is that, actually trying to find out, how much he knows about certain areas and get him up to speed on some areas like, in 2020, that he had this DOT clearinghouse created, and it's for CDL required drivers, and so there was a new drug and alcohol policy that had to be put together for secondary roads for CDL employees, and we did that. I was just asking him the other day by email, if he was aware of those, because the thing is that, you're required to, people that are involved with those CDL drivers required to have 2 hours of drug and alcohol training a year. And, two of the people that had that training down there took that training no longer down there, so, Sarah and Roger, so they're no longer there, so I was making Keith aware that, hey, we're gonna be having this drug and alcohol training in October. And so I just want to let you know, because these people obviously, are no longer there. You're required to have somebody, and you're required to have the training, at least one person. And so we're getting that all set up in place, made him aware of it. He told me that, I don't know, there's 2 or 3 of them, he would take training himself too. And we'll do that via Zoom meeting, because there'll be multiple clients involved in that. But that's just one, just give you an example. One thing is, trying to find out if he had dealt with the clearinghouse before, and then I asked him is that, because I don't know, do you know, they were contracting with C.J. Cooper to take care of the clearinghouse filings. Do you know if he's still doing that, or? So if they get paid, would you be paying them, C.J. Cooper, or would?
it would come through our office and they put it
Okay.
in the check.
Well, I asked him to check on that because what the clearinghouse is that when they put in the new regulations, every employer that's covered by the DOT regulations, the secondary roads has to register every employee with the National Clearinghouse that are CDL licensed required positions, okay? So when we started this out we sent all those names and all that information into their National Clearinghouse, and then what they need to do is when they retire or leave, they need to take them off the list, and then they need to have any new employees that are in a CDL required position on that National Clearinghouse list. That's a requirement under the DOT, and part of the reason why they created that clearinghouse is because that now that employers have a one-stop shop to check on somebody who's applying for a CDL required position, go to the National Clearinghouse, they can find out. It's like, it mostly has to do with the over-the-road truckers who that maybe in Iowa here that had 2 or 3 violations, and they go to another state and get a job and they don't know they had the violations. So now, see, that's what they use that for, is that they go to that clearinghouse and you can tell the record of every CDL driver. So that's what, but anyhow, the counties and secondary roads are required to be a part of that and required to register those people. So I'm just making Keith aware of this. I don't know that I don't think, and he didn't say for sure, I don't think he's ever dealt with this area. So get him up to speed with that, just so you know. In addition to this list here, and if you have questions, I'll try and answer them for you, but anyhow, a couple things is that, been a couple interesting, court decisions recently. One is I know that you know about because Rochelle told me she got the letter from the, Iowa Firearms Coalition, but that had to do with Monroe County, which is down in southern Iowa, not far from me. I don't know if you folks are aware of that. Had to do with guns, carrying guns and so forth in the courthouse.
No, I don't.
Okay.
They sent it out.
Okay, so I'll just give you the brief overview about it is that it really, I don't think affects any of my clients, because I don't think any of my county clients have taken the position that Monroe County took in respect to firearms, is they tried to prevent all firearms from going into the courthouse, even if they have a permit to carry, and that's not what the law says. As you may know, is that just the judicial part is the only part that is firearm and weapon free. Everybody else isn't. So I thought that this was really unusual that Monroe County took the position they took. And then what happened is that a citizen come in one day and said, hey, your firearm policy is not in line with the law. And they said to him basically that, well, we made the policy, you just go away. And so you can understand what happens when you tell them that. So he didn't go away, so he come back in, and he was come back in a couple times and said, hey, you got to do something about that policy. The policy's not in sync with the law. And so then to really step in for the board of supervisors they got tired of the guy coming in, so they sued him for harassment. Not my county, by the way. They sued him for harassment, and I thought, well, that was probably the dumbest thing I think they could have done. And so they sued the guy, and then when it went on down the road, then the Iowa Firearms Coalition got tag teamed this deal, and they went to court on it, and the court ruled that the county was in violation and fined him $100,000. And then beyond that, there was a secondary ruling in Monroe County, and so all in all, when they got all done with this, Monroe County paid about $250,000 for being silly. And it's all about, trying to keep guns out of the courthouse, when I thought that the last ruling they had was pretty clear that you can't do that. So anyhow, that case was interesting more than it was something that affects you as a county, okay? But, there was another ruling that had to do with Mahaska County, this is right next to Monroe County, so I don't know, maybe something in the water down there, but anyhow, this had to do with, and you may know about this has been going on for a long time. This had to do with that Mahaska County had two 28E agreements with the two cities right next door. They're in they're in a different county, but the two cities, these two cities, they had a 28E agreement with, and kind of formed this group, I guess. And this was all about that. This group that together they were in this 28E. They wanted to go out and use the eminent domain and take farmland because they wanted to build a bigger, better airport that would serve both of the counties. And the bigger employers in both Mahaska County and the next county were pushing this big time because they all had private jets, that they back and forth, and they have to use the airport in Ottumwa because it's a former Navy base, and it has the right length of runway for them to land, and they wanted to build this bigger, better airport out there and wanted to go out and take all this farmland. And so the farmers, they formed this coalition, and they fought them, and so the end of this story is that this went all the way to the Iowa Supreme Court, and the Iowa Supreme Court said you can't do that, and you'd have to read it. They said that the county and the 28E people couldn't do what they wanted to do in this case. Now, you'd say, well, how does that affect you? Well, the part about that makes me wonder is because the Supreme Court's ruling about what is valid for a 28E agreement. And so when I read it, I called one of the supervisors in the county that I have and asked him if it's on the ISAC board, and I said, do you think this has any effect could have an effect on the counties having a 28E agreement? And he says, well, I don't know. And so he turned it over to ISAC, and I never heard anything else from it, so I don't know whether they decided it wouldn't have any effect or not, but the ruling certainly made me wonder if that it would put some 28E agreements at risk. So, just the kind of things that my company's legal counsel and I we kind of keep track of as time goes by and see whether or not it's going to have any type of effect at all or adverse effect on our county plans. So, the only other thing I'll say to you today is that just as a reminder is that we have contract negotiations coming up for a wage reopener, which probably won't get going until about January, would be my guess. They, as FERC moves some of their schedule back a little bit, so my guess is that it probably won't come out until January, and then we'll have that discussion in closed session when we get there, and not knowing which union rep we're dealing with.
Our negotiators retiring.
Pardon me?
Our negotiators retiring.
I heard that, but I don't know if he has yet or not.
I think so. Really?
Well, he told me that, but he didn't tell me when. He told me that last time, but he didn't tell me when, so.
I don't have a date.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see who they assign. That could be
Good or bad?
exactly, you know where I was going, Andrew. Exactly. I mean, believe it or not, there are some people out there that are not fun to be around.
I kind of think the type of budgets and it's in January.
Well, I realize that, I just don't know that we can get
You can't.
going. What you just have to do is plug a number in and you may have to amend it later. That's right. So a number of things that we were doing in communications service with the sheriff's office, and we had quite a string going on there for a while. Not by choice, I know, but nevertheless, as we did.
So we're an awesome resource, thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. and touchy, and you just gotta make sure you're doing the right thing, so. It'll all come out good. Questions?
Do you got anything for Jack?
Just, the only thing I gotta say is thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate
Well,
your
welcome,
service.
It's like, I just like to give you, the boards, my boards an idea once in a while, you know, about what we've done, we don't see everything and all that, just to give you an idea, and so, you know, we track this stuff, and both on a fiscal and a calendar year basis, we track, just to see, you know.
Make sure you're earning your keep.
Right, yeah, you got that right, Gary. So, but as I remind almost all of my clients is that, you know, in the 6 or 7 years I've been here, whatever it is, realize that I've not had a claim in anything that I've dealt with in that period of time.
Yep.
And I just reiterate that because it means a lot that you don't have those, because the people who have had those is very costly lessons.
Are you gonna assist the auditor's office with coming up with a job description?
Yeah,
That's
yes.
older.
Yes.
We just talked about that.
Yeah, I'll sit down with them, you know, I mean, pretty easy for us to put together a job description, just need to know kind of how the duties cross train and so, yeah.
And if that person goes somewhere else too, in the courthouse.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have, at least what I think you're gonna have is kind of a hybrid job description, right? And it's gonna be, you know, in different areas, and that's what makes it the hybrid, and, yeah, so.
Right now, it's just treasurer and auditor, but, you know, eventually, more scanning, you know, between the other offices, probably.
She's neither or he.
Yeah, he or she.
Sure. Yeah, I've had some folks that had positions like that before. Don't have anything else for you, so.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Again, appreciate all you've done for us.
Well, thank you, Jerry. You know, I mean, you folks probably know me as well as any board is, you know, take pride in what I do and want to do it right, so.
You'll be around for a couple more years, I probably can't.
You can ask that, and the answer is yes. I actually, and I think maybe you asked me that once before, and actually I've kind of had some hills and valleys here because I've got it, and I'm not taking up too much of your time on this. You know, I actually had an HR associate hired in this gal, and the whole plan was for her to spend a year in training. She had 7 years of HR experience, didn't have any public sector, which is a different world, and so it was going to take a year and train her, and she had started in, and it's been about 5 or 6 months, and she was a gem in that she had the right personality, and she was a quick learn and all of that, and then all of a sudden is that her and her family decided they was going to move back where they came from, which was Oregon. So that was a surprise, a little bit of a shock, and so then I have been working with a lady who has a couple HR companies, but she doesn't have anything in this field, and about working out kind of a partnership with her. So if sometime down the road is I'll do a little less and they'll do a little more. And I'll do a little more less and then do a little more. So that's kind of the plan here, so we'll see how it works out. But until then, Jerry, I won't be around for.
Thank you. Thank you again.
So, God willing. Yeah, I'll stick around and then we can get together.
All right, thank you, Jack, like I told you, I used you a lot this year and you never steered me wrong, so thank you very much.
All right, well, yep.
It's worth a lot, isn't it, Ken?
Yes, it is.
All turned out good, right? So, yeah, so.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Any of you going down to ISAC this week?
I am, I'm not sure when yet.
I'll be around there on Thursday for curious about, and I think it's on the, supervisor's agenda about, they're gonna have some panel on hiring, so, I don't know if you saw it or not. They have some, hey, can this be off the record? They got some interesting characters on that panel, so. I'll tell you more about it when I run into you down there.
That means that you're, are you on that panel?
No, I'm not on that panel, but, there's a couple people on there I know, and, one's actually my compensation, but nevertheless, it's just, I just found it kind of odd that they have them on that panel, but we'll see what they got, I guess.
Okay, thank you again. Anything else?